busy. I don't ever smoke the dizzy, but we can always share some ditsies. It's just a cup in time. This song doesn't have to rhyme. Life's all of us, not every moment we can be feeling fine. I wanna share a moment, just a second if you will, maybe even a cup of thrill. We could share this performance. It's tea time, come sit with me.
Well, welcome guys, Miss Liz in the house, and today I have the incredible Peter Matthies in the house. I think I'm saying it right. I just asked him before we went live, but we're going to share his tea today, and his tea is following spiritual insights, bridging spirituality and business, transforming the way we work and create success. That is the tea we are serving in the house. But before we get started, we're going to get over to all those good platforms: Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram, Clapper, Lemonade, Blue Sky, all of those good platforms. Give those a like, follow, and subscribe, and get these tea times out there, because they do make a difference for the guests and for listening audience that resonate with the topics. Also, check out all the podcast platforms: Podbean, iHeartRadio, Listen Notes, Deezer, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And the ones I haven't mentioned, Miss Liz is on all of those as well. Give those a like, follow, and subscribe, and we can get these tea times out there and make a difference all together when we work together. But jump over to babyboomers.org. Miss Liz has been partnered with them about 3 years now. So if you're looking to be featured on different podcasts and Miss Liz is not the flavor for you, you can jump over there and you can find 50 plus podcasts over there, radio shows, stations, everything. So check out babyboomers.org. Miss Liz always likes to encourage you guys to bounce around and get your stories out there all over the place, not just at my table, but at their tables as well. So let's get started with disclaimer and then a beautiful intro. And then we're going to get Peter in here and we're going to spill his tea and we're going to have some fun today. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz's Tea Time is a global platform dedicating to sharing real life stories, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations that inspire awareness, healing, and connection. I'm Miss Liz is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment during the live broadcast, please grant StreamYard permission to display your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that all the content brought forward during any Tea Time show is presented in good faith. However, discussions may include opinions, beliefs, and perspectives that do not necessarily represent the views of Miss Liz or the Tea Time platform. Information shared by guests is based on their own experiences and is perceived to be accurate at the given time of airing. All guests, viewers, and participants are responsible for using their own good judgment when considering any action or decision that may relate to these discussions. Some episodes may cover sensitive topics, including but not limited to trauma, abuse, grief, mental health, and other emotionally triggering subjects. Listeners' and viewers' discretion is strongly advised. Tea Time with Miss Liz is an open discussion forum designed to offer insight, inspire awareness, and create connection. It is not a substitute for professional, medical, legal, or therapeutical advice. If you require professional support, please seek assistance from qualified professionals or trusted resources in your area. If you have any questions regarding this disclaimer or the content of the discussion, you are welcome to contact me, aka Miss Liz, directly at my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com or visit my link tree at Miss Liz's Tea Time. By choosing to participate in, comment on, or view these live shows, you acknowledge and accept this disclaimer. Your participation is entirely voluntary. I, Miss Liz, welcomes you to join the conversation with an open heart, and if at any time you feel this platform is not right for you, I respect your wishes and decision and welcome you back whenever you are ready. Tea Time with Miss Liz is serving truth and awareness one cup at a time. Well, welcome to Tea Time with Miss Liz, where conversations remind us that true success is measured not only by what we achieve, but by the lives we impact and the legacy we leave behind. Today's guest believes that business can be the force for good when it is built on purpose, integrity, and human connection. Please join me in welcoming Peter Matthies, entrepreneur, international speaker, coach, and founder of the Conscious Business Institute, where he helps leaders and organizations build businesses that create lasting impact while staying aligned with their values. Peter has dedicated his career to helping individuals and organizations move beyond traditional definitions of success by embracing conscious leadership, authentic relationships, emotional intelligence, and purpose-driven decision-making. His philosophy is simple yet powerful. When people grow, business grows. When leaders lead with intention, everyone benefits. Today's Tea Time will explore conscious leadership, purpose-driven business, building meaningful relationships, emotional intelligence in leadership, creating success with integrity. Peter reminds us that business isn't just about profit, it is about people, purpose, and making a positive difference in the world. So grab your cup and join us for an inspiring conversation filled with wisdom, leadership, and real life tea, truth, experience, and awareness. And let me get Peter in here and let's spill some tea together. Welcome, Peter.
Welcome. Wonderful to be here. Thanks for having me, Liz.
It is a pleasure to have you here, Peter. I hope I said your last name correctly.
Yeah, we can live with that. It's been said in different ways. I'm fine.
I'll take that. We can live with that. That's a good mindset right there. We can live with it, right?
Yeah. There are important things to talk about.
So, Peter, let's get to know you a little bit. Who was Peter as a little guy, and who's Peter now?
Oh, as a little guy, I was blonde. I'm still kind of blonde, but I was really, really blonde. And I was just playing soccer. I was playing everything that I could get my hands on. I was just a happy little playful kid growing up in Germany in a very regular family. My dad was an architect. My mom was a singer and a singing teacher, the son of a pastor, of a Protestant pastor. And so we were brought up in a way that was, we went to church every once in a while, but not very often, but spirit was in the house. But we were educated in an achieving way. So you go to school, you get a good education, you go to university, you get a good job, you make money, and then you go out into the world. And for me, that worked for a certain amount of time until I felt it just left something on the table, which was for me fulfillment, purpose, well-being, and the bigger question of what else is out there. And so today, I fundamentally shifted. I run the Conscious Business Institute. If I don't do this, I still do the same. So I cannot not do what I do. It's been a ride to get here, and very, very fundamental steps that I would like to share with people, because I see so many people in the work world asking, isn't there a better way to work and live? And so that's why I would like to share some.
So, Peter, what's the difference between leadership and conscious leadership?
Well, first of all, I would like to pedal back one step. What's the difference between management and leadership? Because people are oftentimes out there managing, and managing to me is keeping all the balls up in the air and watching that nothing falls down. It has nothing to do with leadership. Leadership is to go first and to be a person that other people want to follow, to not to have followers, but to be a person that other people want to follow with conviction, with a purpose, with straight up values and the courage to pursue those values. Conscious leadership is I would say an expansion of that is when the leader becomes aware and conscious about their impact, his thoughts, his beliefs, his inner viewpoints, and his decision have on himself and the ripple effect they have in the world.
I like the ripple effect. And I enjoy interviewing conscious leaders because there's a big difference, right? Like right away, you rolled it back and you went back to management, because a lot of leaders, they believe they're leaders, but they're actually managing.
Yeah, we were just out on a boat with a friend here in Santa Barbara, and she is one of the leading people in, I'm not going to name the field, and you might actually find her, but in the research field. She has 60 researchers. She's traveling all over the world. I mean, if it comes to smart, if it comes to achieving success, she is top of the line. She's in Washington, D.C. all the time and advising people all around the world. She's really amazing, but she says, I'm bloody miserable because I'm managing all these things. I need to keep my people employed. I need to do all these things. And doesn't get the time to lead, to go ahead and say, this is the purpose, this is what we do, to empower people to step up, because she's just firefighting basically. Yeah. So I think for many of us we can probably relate to that and say, how do we make this shift in this turmoil world to move from managing stuff to going first and actually charting the way?
Well, Peter, you had a reading from what I've been told, and what happened during that psychic reading that changed your life forever?
It was in 1996. My ex-wife and I lived in Carmel at the time, and we were traveling around the world to look at people who lived off the beaten tracks, at shamans, at kahunas, at psychics, at musicians, at very successful business people, at artists, and kind of had interviews with them, 96 of them all around the world, and asked them, how do you live different? How do you live life? Why are you in the flow while other people might not be in the flow? And many of these individuals pointed us to a person in Carmel, Rob, which my wife first met, and then she came back home and bounced around like a rubber ball. And she says, you have to meet this person. And so I followed her advice. And I sat in front of this individual, and for 2 hours, 3 hours, he told me who I was, who my soul was, who I was authentically. And I felt seen because it resonated so deeply, so truthfully, that it completely changed my life. Because of two things. First of all, because it's the biggest thing that we can give to anybody is to truly see them in their soul. And secondly, when we do that, it allowed me at that point to actually step into that and to live that kind of a life. So it was a watershed moment in my life, for sure.
Well, we have a question here from Jason for you, and it's, Peter, did you ever imagine your journey would impact more than 80,000 people?
I did. I did. Of course, at that time, I was sitting in a plane. I was about 26 years old, and I was kind of, at some point in time, I want to talk to people and I want to impact people. I never had a number, and it didn't matter to me, but I wanted to talk to audiences because I thought it would be important to share some of the ideas that I had. The 80,000 people came through the back door because we have partners that market our programs and that sell our programs out there, and they sell into organizations, and so it just ripples out there. Not directly my control, but it's a good question. Do we set that up, or do we just hold an intention? Maybe.
Was it a goal of yours to reach 80,000 people, or do you have a higher number?
No, I don't have any real goals, because goals to me, first of all, my MO doesn't operate with goals. There are people who love goals and who should set goals. My personality colors as that we work with are more fitting with purpose and with intentions, because goals, I find, are a bullseye. You have to meet the target, and if you go a minute to the right of it, you kind of missed your goal and you kind of quote unquote fail. So I'm rethinking goals in terms of what are my very clear intention of what I would like to create, also leaving wiggle room what universe wants to come in with, so that I can adjust if I feel it's necessary.
Well, Peter, we're going to talk about your book called Plan B, and then I'm going to put up the website for anybody that would like to check that out. But before we jump in, I just want to answer this question from Paula, and it's what first inspired today's topic about conscious business. I like having these conversations with guests like Peter, because there's so many different types of leaders and businesses out there that we're not knowing about or we don't talk about. So that was the reason for today's topic. Peter, what for you, how would you answer that question?
Maybe two questions. I think there are a couple of areas, 3 areas in our life that really are the make or break points. And it's health, it is love, relationships, and it is money. And if we want to change the world, if we want to make an impact, to me, one of the biggest breaking points is money. Because if we would make money in a different way, if it came from a sense of abundance, we wouldn't need to pillage the planet and screw other people over or build companies that nobody wants to work in. So we can be conscious on the yoga mat, but if we get off the yoga mat and back into the business office, I feel that's where the rubber meets the road. And that's where we need to start addressing, higher principles now.
Absolutely. And principles over goals. I'm the same way. I don't like goals because goals are resolutions, like on New Year's Day, right? So you say, I'm going to quit smoking on January 1st, and then you don't quit smoking. So kind of like a goal, and I find that a lot of people go to the extreme of goals. Keep them simple, keep them small, but start off. But we have people that are jumping into the river with huge goals, and then they're wondering why they're failing, why they're not.
Yeah, it can be a setup, because we are taught in the world, just set goals and work hard and get to them and you'll be happy. And it's rubbish, because otherwise we would all live in big mansions, drive beautiful cars, and don't work anymore. Yeah. So there's something that we've been told in our society, which is just a setup. and it's not making us happy, and it's not getting us to where we want to get. So,
right? And I hear that a lot from a lot of people that are successful with the money and the house and the cars. They feel empty inside because they've worked towards the goal. Once the goal is done, what do they have to work for? You know?
yeah. And on the flip side, if you look at some people, look at Oprah, look at some other people that you might know. If they wouldn't work, they would still do the same. They don't do it for the goal setting, for the money, for the carrot at the end of the road there. They do it because they love what they're doing. And this is a message that I would love to leave with people is, can we rethink success in a way that we can expand into our authenticity, so that we can find what we love, what we're doing, and expand into that and find a flow that makes us money as well as joy and fulfillment. How can we create more of that?
Well, I think the whole ideal is the purpose, right? Find the purpose for why.
Yeah, find purpose. And there's something else to it, because my wife runs a nonprofit, for example, and she is on purpose since she's 12. So she is fully on purpose. But she's also at a time where she was burned out. And I see that in a lot of nonprofit leaders, is that they're following their purpose and then they're overworked and they're burned out and not happy. So there's another component that is part of this that we need to address. Yeah.
Absolutely. We have a question here from Thrive Time Show. Was leaving Germany the hardest decision you ever made?
Good question. It wasn't. I came over here, then I went back to Germany and worked as a venture capitalist. And then 5 years later, I left again, because I live here in California, and that for me is a place where I can be creative, where I can be more free. And so I wanted to come back here. The transition was hard because I left with 2 suitcases, and I basically left everything behind. My wife at the time, we were going different ways. My career as a venture capitalist, my environment, and started with 2 suitcases here from scratch, basically. And of course, the first few months were fantastic. I had some money in the bank, the sun was shining, I had total freedom. But then it hit me and said, oh my God, what have I done? And then the following years, they were actually very, very challenging to decide what I want to do and to set up the Conscious Business Institute.
Well, Peter, let's talk about the book that you've written, the book called Plan B. I'm pulling it up. If you could just describe for the audio listeners what we're looking at.
This is a book that is basically describing why our current model of success is making us suffer, that we've all been told a model that is not designed to make us happy, and what we need to shift to, that these individuals that I talked earlier about are already living by, consciously or not, what we can shift to as individuals or as a business if we want to live with more fulfillment and authenticity. Yeah. And how to carry this into the work world, of course.
So when we're looking at the cover of the book, how did you get the cover? Because it's very simple, but it's very direct. So
it was funny because, the circle is the logo of the Conscious Business Institute. I just love it. It came to me during a dream at some point in time when I founded the Institute. It's the sign for being, for inner centeredness and being. So I have always liked it. I always wanted a clean cover, white with red. I had it in my mind for some reason. Plan B, I don't know how it came up. I was going through titles, and it's about being instead of doing, to come from a place of being, which is a consciousness shift. And then I was sitting around with my family, with my nephews and nieces for an afternoon in Germany, barbecuing and having a good time. And then we were deciding about the subtitle. And my niece is very good with words, and she came up with a subtitle that I liked. So that's.
I always love hearing how the titles of a book come along, right? Because a lot of people think, oh, it was just a business, meeting, and we all put it together. But I love that you had your family involved in the title of the book and that as well.
Yeah, we kicked it around a lot, and it took me months to kind of hone in on it. Is it the ideal title? I don't know, but it sits for me.
So we have a question here. What was going through your mind when you packed just 2 bags and moved to California?
I felt liberation because something very strange happened. I want to tell the story a little bit, because I was working in my venture capital office and I wanted to leave. I wanted to go back to the United States, and I was working with a psychic at that time, with a medium. and psychic. And she said, hold off, don't tell them, because in Germany we need six weeks before the end of the quarter kind of to give notice. And I was past that time and said, I can't leave. And she said, hold on, they tell you to hold off. And so one day our two bosses didn't come into the office, and they came in the afternoon. They said, we just got notice, we have to close down the office. And everybody's like, what? And I was like, yay. And when can I leave? And what's the severance payment that we get? So,
I'm already ready to go.
so I was ready to go. I wanted to leave by March 31st, 2003. And I left by March 31st, 2003. And packed my bags. I was super excited to come back to California. I mean, that part was the easy part. Again, that was easy. Exciting.
Well, we have a question here for you, Peter. Is how was the ideal of the Conscious Business Institute born?
It came to me. I was sitting on a plane in Newark when I was giving a workshop in New York about purpose, and then flew to Charlotte to attend another workshop. And I sat on the plane 6 o'clock in the morning in Newark Airport, woke up at 4. I was tired, so I sat there with my eyes closed. And in this half doze, the name Conscious Business Institute came in front of my eyes, and I got a download of what it's supposed to be. And in a second, I was wide awake. I thought somebody poured a bottle of water over my head, and I was wide awake and said, this is what I want to do with my life. So I had a download for about an hour. I went to sleep again for a year before I had the courage to do it. But then something changed in my life. I put a 2-pager together, sent it to a person that I knew, and she said, I'm going to be a first person on board. And within 2 months, I had 16 people on the board. So
wow.
It came to me rather than the other way around. And if it would have come like half a year earlier, it would have passed me by. I would have not been in the place to take it. So
well,
time.
Peter, let's get into your tea, because your tea kind of takes us into the travel of understanding why you did what you did. The beginning of your tea is following spiritual insight. Was the insight easy to follow?
No. I had my own insights and followed the breadcrumbs, but I was very much out of my authenticity. I was an electronic engineer in the finance world. Meanwhile, I'm a people's person, understanding human behavior. And it was very, very stressful for me. I could do it, but it was very stressful for me. And so when we're out here in left field, having gone down a path for many years, I didn't know what my authenticity was. And I wasn't connected very much to spirit at the time. But I had my mentors, I had my guides, and I followed them because something rang true. And so when I left, I remember I was in Stinson Beach. I was driving with a motorcycle through California, and I woke up and I freaked out and said, nothing's working out. And I cursed. Midnight, Stinson Beach, all the way on 4 Mile Long Beach. And I was cursing and swearing. And it's like, what am I following? What am I following? So it went in and it went out. And it took quite a while for me to sink in.
The reason that I asked that, because a lot of people think once we get that insight, right, that it's easy. It's just jump and do it. No. But it's not. It's a lot. It's a journey within itself.
For me, it was 2003. I got the insight. 2004. I got the insight. 2005, I founded the Conscious Business Institute. 2010, I basically had the first serious clients. So there was 5 years of walking through the desert of not knowing whether this will ever work or whether I would blow away the most precious years of my life. My peers in the venture capital world, they were raking it in, and I was burning through all my stuff. And it was the most challenging time of my life, no doubt. So getting that insight and purpose is a lighthouse, but it's not the destination yet.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the second part of your tea, and it's bridging spirituality and business. How do we put the two of them together?
Yeah, I don't speak much about that because I don't sell conscious business. When I work with organizations, I am solving their problems. You know, they have problems with trust, with communication, with connection, with, leadership, with all these kind of things. And if we can't sell them, then it's a waste of time. But all of these things come down to consciousness. Our success stops at the point where our consciousness has stopped growing. Yeah. So when we have a conflict with a partner or with our family members, one insight, one consciousness insight, one level up can resolve the whole conflict. Yeah. And so when we work with organizations, we work with leaders and all those kind of things, but we work on the level of consciousness where we expand into a completely new space of being for them. And this new space of being oftentimes contains a higher perspective. To me, there are two fundamental shifts in consciousness that can change a lot in our world, if not everything. The first one is the consideration that we are part of something bigger, that we are really a spiritual being in a human body, which you're very familiar with probably, because that makes us not being out there all by ourselves and needing to do it by ourselves anymore. It changes everything. If we cannot just hear that, but actually viscerally feel that, like I did with this mentor that told me about myself, it changes everything. And the second shift of consciousness is the shift from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. We've all been educated in the mindset of scarcity: not enough time, not enough money, not enough love, not enough, whatever you name it, right? Every day. And if we can shift that to a mindset of abundance, to understand that there's always plenty out there, and if we can just tap into it, those two shifts to me are fundamental. And these are really spiritual principles, right? So that's how we can bring it into the business world in a very practical and very day-to-day way.
Well, we have a comment here that I'd like to read out to you. Is one thing I really appreciate is how Peter talks about business and humanity together instead of treating them separately.
Yeah, business is not about business. It's about fulfilling our deeper needs. In Sweden, there's a word for business which is called näringsliv, which is nourishment for life. Business is not to be busy. Business is to, it's the most beautiful thing if you think about it. It's a way to be creative, to create something together with other people that's bigger than ourselves. If we can remember that, it's really, really beautiful, right? We just get sidetracked.
Absolutely. And the last part of your T is transforming the way we work and create success. So tell me a little bit about how we can work together to create the success stories that are good for us, because everybody has a different success story.
Yes. And the question is, how much is our aspiration for success shaped by our inner world, by our authenticity, and how much is it shaped by our outside world? So if you look at MBA students, you see that many of them go into the school, the MBA school, wanting to make a difference, and they come out wanting to make money. They get manipulated, quote unquote, in order to be the business people of today, which is horrible, really horrible. And success in our world, especially in the United States, is like, how do I make money? How do I get more stuff, get someplace? And it's really not much to do with success, because if you look at the statistics, people are not much happier if they have tons of money. So can we rethink what success really means, which includes abundance and includes financial well-being? That's really important. We need to live. Sustainability is a hugely important thing. But can we define success as the ability to express who we are really here to be in this world, and step into flow or step into a platform where we can thrive with that? Because it's really what we want to be as human beings. They're human needs that want to be fulfilled. One is our need for self-expression. We want to be ourselves. If that's clipped off, frustration happens. We want to connect genuinely with others. If we don't belong, frustration kicks in. We want to make a difference, contribution. That's the human needs that we want to get fulfilled. And we want to grow and be sustained. So if these are fulfilled, these are deep human needs that any organization should aspire to fulfill. And when they do, that's what we find in our assessments, is then they start truly thriving.
Well, I want to get into some of the services, but we have a couple questions here that I just want to get out to you, Peter. From James is, what gave you the courage to trust your intuition?
Oh, that's a good question, which is, I'm just asking myself yesterday, actually, because something happened. And I'm like, oh, my God. So these moments still happen every day. it needs a lot of courage to do something different. But once there's a purpose, once there's this rings true, there's a resonance inside the purpose. It just rings true inside of you. There's a truthfulness to it. At that point, that purpose becomes stronger than the fear. And then we follow it because we cannot do anything else. If that's not clear, if the North Star is not clear, this inner resonance and the outer North Star, then it takes a lot of courage to do it. And it's probably not the best thing to do because it's not clear where we're headed. It's a signal from our body oftentimes that, hey, hang on, it's not quite clear yet.
Right. And sometimes we try to silence that intuition, and then we go down a wrong rabbit hole that we shouldn't have went down to begin with.
Yeah, oftentimes that's the case. So especially now with AI accelerating it, because AI is a huge accelerator. It accelerates everything. If we run against the wall, it accelerates how we run against the wall. And if we create our authenticity, it accelerates how we create our authenticity. So the starting point from which we use AI is extremely important. The clarity from which it comes. Because if we are not clear, then we're going off into a different direction that leads us to a place we don't want to go. So more than ever, I believe it's very much an opportunity for us to check in with ourselves, to say, who am I really here to be? What is my authenticity? Does this ring true for me? Is this something I want to contribute my time to?
I like that question. Check in with yourself. For all my listeners out there, check in with yourself and see if it feels aligned. Yeah. I use that word a lot, right? When a lot of people reach out to me, let's see if this is an alignment, like if we're going to work good together, because not everybody is meant to sit at the table with you, you know? So really look over who's coming to you and why they're coming to you. And sometimes it's not to sit with you, it's to take you off that right direction. So
yeah, and that takes courage, because
Absolutely.
At that point you might need to say, you know, no, I'm just not going to do that anymore, and go against what you've done all your life, probably, right? In many cases, and be afraid that, oh, holy shit, how am I going to make money?
You're right. Like, where's that paycheck coming from now?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we have a question here from Lori, and is, what does conscious leadership mean in a simple everyday language?
You're catching me here. That's a good one. I always say that a conscious leader is a person who is aware and conscious about their beliefs, their actions, and their emotions, and takes full responsibility and accountability for their impact that they have on themselves and the world around them. And you can see that that is not the case with many leaders. There's throw something into the world and there's a ripple effect that's not very positive. And I don't see people taking accountability for that.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. There's no accountability in today's world with a lot of leaders. I wish they would take accountability and responsibility for their actions. We have a question here from Realtor of the Week. What advice would you give someone who's stuck between security and purpose?
What a good question. I mean, it's all the time. I mean, everybody grapples with that. Two things. The first one is to look at purpose. The second one is to look at security. The first one, to look at purpose, is your purpose clear enough and defined enough and rubber on the road enough? Does it actually stick on the road? That when that's strong, when that's very clear, when the commitment is there, when the capacity is there, when the capability is there to go towards that purpose, then you will move more towards that, and security becomes a secondary issue. Secondly, looking at security is like where this is a classroom for overcoming fears. This life here. So when we all want to have some security, and we need to be secure to some extent, because otherwise our fight and flight mode kicks in. But how far is this security too much fear that wants to be addressed in your world to claim your authentic power? Yeah, how far is it real, and how far is it just a story that's made up in your head? So to focus on these two things and to sit with them and to allocate time for that, not thinking that it's a waste of time, is maybe very powerful.
Well, Peter, I'm going to jump back into the book, Plan B. I'd like to know more about the CBI programs.
Mm-hmm.
If you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the CBI programs are pretty much all based around a framework that I received in a meditation in 2008 and then validated with a lot of organizations about what really makes a thriving organization or what makes a thriving life for ourselves. And I mentioned it earlier, that these 4 areas that need to be fulfilled. The first one is we want to fully self-express. Right? We want to show up authentically, which poses the question, what is our authenticity? Are we really authentic, or are we just thinking whether we're authentic? I have yet to meet a person that says I'm not authentic, and yet, you know, I had a completely different sense of authenticity after I spoke to this individual that saw me. The second thing is we all want to have fulfilling relationships. A successful life is based on the quality of our relationships. So we want to have belonging. We want to have connection. How can we create that in an organization? The third thing is we all want to contribute something. So what's the purpose of the organization? And the fourth one is we want to make money, we want to be sustained, we want to grow. So that's the money part of it. So if these 4 quadrants are fulfilled, there's really nobody that wants to leave the company. And so our programs are designed in a way that they focus and fulfill these 4 quadrants. We have a Conscious Business Master program that goes through the whole journey with leaders, with individuals, with whoever is interested. Or we create programs for organization where we focus on these quadrants separately or together as they want. Our measurement tool measures these 4 quadrants and sees where an organization stands in those. And we can always find that when these are fulfilled and created by the leader purposefully, that the organization starts to thrive.
So, Peter, do you work with just the United States, or do you work globally?
I work globally. We have clients all over the world.
And what country is the most that you work with at this point?
I work a lot in the United States, of course. We work quite a bit in Latin America these days because we work with a large organization and they have a Latin American base. And a lot in Europe because of my background and because Europe, how do I say that? Europe is looking at different ways. And Europe has gone through a lot of stuff. It's not a young country, a young territory. And so people are like, nah, let's do it properly. Let's not wing it. Let's do it properly. And so there's a deep interest when we go in for deeper topics.
Do you find in today's world that the old school learners are bucking heads, or are they open to change?
It really depends on the individual. And we have a color assessment that usually describes, you know, you're open, you're not. So
I'm open some days I'm not.
Yeah.
It's like a business, right? We have our vacation days.
Yes, exactly. Everybody wants change, but not everybody wants to change, right? So we work with everybody wants change. We bring people in. We oftentimes purposefully work with the top leadership team or the leadership team to get them ready, and then work with self-selected groups of people so that we can get those who say, okay, we really want this. And then we can tip the scale over time when we work deeper in an organization. Of course, I have people that are saying, you know, this doesn't really work, and it's really not fun to have those kind of individuals in the program, but oftentimes they're just pulled along because for most people it raises energy and they just come along.
Well, absolutely. And it's like I said earlier, right? Some people come to you and they're not there for the right reasons. They're there to distract you, take you off course.
Yeah.
And that's when you have to have the courage to say, you know what, this is not flying my boat. Like, it's not my cup of tea at all. I'm just going to wish you well and move along. I've done that to many of people. The energy just not feeling right, or they try to direct you into a different path. And the purpose is pulling you, and the intuition is saying, no, don't listen. I've had a lot of that spiritual connection where it says, don't do this, don't jump just because it looks good. Yeah.
And you're probably very familiar with once you start convincing somebody, it just doesn't work. Right.
Absolutely.
So we just provide an alternative way, and either people resonate with it or not. And if it's individuals, we can tell them, you know what, you might want to reconsider, but oftentimes they're being put in the programs by their boss and say, here's a group of 50 people and let's roll. So that makes it a little more challenging.
Well, and that kind of shows a business too, right? Who's really serious about change and who's not serious about change, because it's also good to have that feedback of somebody that's not interested in it or doesn't believe in it, right? Because those are the ones that usually get the most out of a program, is because they go in with that closed mind, but at the end of the program, they're like, oh, okay, now I have a different perspective of what first came to the table.
Yeah. And again, you're absolutely spot on there. One thing that's critical is to pick them up where they are, so to understand the challenges that they're going through these days, and it's a lot these days. So what's realistic at this point in time for many is a consideration too.
I like this comment here from Daniel. It is, I appreciate how practical these ideals are, even though they come from such a profound personal experience. I find that's where we learn the most, is from our personal experiences and personal life lessons that we get. And that's where we really grow in business, for myself anyway. How do you feel about that, Peter?
Yeah, if it's not, I appreciate that, Daniel, really. That's what I hear from other people too, is that's why our programs work, because they are practical. Otherwise, it would just be philosophy and I could teach at a university or somewhere. Not that it's bad, but it's oftentimes just doesn't hit the ground. This is for everybody who's going through rough times. It's my own rough times that have informed this. What has helped, what has worked. Me hitting the streets and going, holy cow, what am I doing here? And then to be able to speak from that point, because otherwise it would just be hearsay. So when we feel a rough time, don't waste the opportunity for building your truth strength. Yeah.
So Peter, could you tell me what CBI stands for?
Conscious Business Institute.
Okay, and you have a personality assessment on the website. Is that to show people if they're open or closed, or what can they get from that test?
Do you mean that color assessment? We have several personality assessments.
I have the CBI personality assessment. That's all I have on my paper. So
yeah, as part of this first module where we speak about who you are authentically here to be during this lifetime, we have a range of personality assessments. One is who you're here to be, how you show up in the room. The second one is your personal magic, which is what is the gift that you're here to express, which brings you into the flow of life. The third one is your essences, really why you do everything. And then the fourth one is what keeps you away from that. So our emotional behaviors. And the one that you're talking about is what I received from this individual in Carmel at the time, which is, it's our personality colors. And I can just give you a brief example. I'm a violet yellow with some tan, and violet are purpose-driven leaders. You have violet, for example. So you're about purpose more than about goals. Violets are visionary people, visionary like Martin Luther King, like Nelson Mandela, like Gandhi. These individuals, if you ask Martin Luther King, what's your goal? He says, I don't know, I have a purpose, right? How do you?
That's what I always tell everybody. I don't have a goal. I have a purpose. Like my purpose is to serve tea. I don't understand it either sometimes. And I'm just like, what the heck am I doing? Like, you know? And,
yeah.
And then I keep coming to the table with teas. Like, but I'm like you, Peter. I get to that moment where I'm cursing and swearing, and I'm just like, I'm tired of tea. Like, why do I have to do the tea? Like, why can't I do the coffee? Why can't I do the hot chocolate? Why does it have to be tea? But it's not the beverage. It's the storytelling. It's the teaching, the educational awareness. It's words and creating that connection with individuals around the globe, all walks of life, you know. And until I started understanding that, then I was just like, what the heck am I doing? Like, why do I have to do this?
Because it's who you are, right?
Yeah.
It's just who you are. And as a violet, we share this personality color. We are the purpose-driven individuals. We are change makers. We are the teachers. We are out there seeing that the world could be led in a different way. and we cannot not do it. It's our job is to jump off the cliff and then just do it and just learn how to fly that way. The greens, on the other hand, is the more traditional color. It's the famous American politician has a lot of green. Bill Gates is a very empowered green. It's the goal setting people. Lot of time successful in business, successful in politics, because greens set their goals and they get to their goals, they achieve their goals. And especially, they're so clear in their goals that other people say, oh, he's going to get there. I'm going to go with him or her. So the green is more goal setting. It's the more traditional business color. And we are in a transition since the 60s, 70s with Martin Luther King, Gandhi, Kennedy, those kind of individuals moving more towards the violet age. So now all the children that are being born, they're purpose driven. They're violets. Everybody wants to have a purpose. So it's an evolutionary transition that we see in our culture, in our society. Yeah, and then we're moving to another one after that. But so it's not just us doing our thing, but that there's actually a bigger evolutionary picture happening here.
So Peter, when you got your colors told to you, were you surprised?
Yes, and I'd never heard that before, and it nailed me. It totally nailed it. I said, that's me. That's me. And I've been the conflict for me was that in Germany, if you have a vision, you need to go to the doctor. So we're not educated.
Go check your head.
Yes. So we're educated to be responsible, to be accountable, to be all those kind of things. German, right? Many of us are educated that way. So I was living my tan, which is very pragmatic. It's structured. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the engineer in me, which I can do, but only have about 15 to 20% tan, much more violet. So I was never allowed to live that violet. And so I felt a deep conflict inside of me. Plus the tan is like responsible, and the yellows is like yellow belly, California, sunshine, joyful, lightness, those kind of things, playfulness. That wasn't allowed to be lived in the business world. And so I didn't quite live two of my colors, which left me very frustrated. And when I go to California, which is much more of a violet yellow country or state, I'm just able to live much more of myself. And so I'm balanced much more. Yeah.
So Peter, after learning your colors, were you able to have that fun? Were you able to release, or did it take you time to get into those colors?
It took time, but it allowed me to shift. It allowed me to bring it in to the workplace because I realized it's a part of me. I have an interesting client because he's at BMW. He was supposed to be promoted to a vice president level, so pretty high up. And he was, of course, I'm not allowed to be my yellow here. I'm not allowed to be joyful and playful. I need to be serious. So he lived as green, he lived some of his violet, but he didn't live as yellow. And his superior says there's something that we don't trust in him. So he didn't get the promotion. So we worked with him and said, I told him, you need to live your yellow in here, even though it's difficult. Can you be more yourself and playful, joyful, bring some lightness into the room? And he did that reluctantly, but he did it, and then got the promotion because he came across authentically. And that's maybe an important takeaway. People across from us feel whether we are authentic or not. They might not be able to pinpoint, but they feel it. And if something is off, then they say, nah, not quite sure whether I trust it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that energy, right? They come into the room and you're like, ooh. They say they're this person, but there's something that I'm just not feeling that's not coming across right.
Yeah.
So for my listeners out there, to take this test, they would go to the website, correct?
Yeah, cbipersonalityassessment.com, I believe, right? And you can take the test. It's an online test, so it gives you an indication, but I have to give you a caveat that you take your conditioned personality into the test. So I oftentimes use it to get people's conditioned personality, and then we do the work together with Rob and find the real colors, and then we have a conversation and say, okay, what needs to expand here?
So what services does a Conscious Business Institute offer?
We offer coaching. We offer the master program. We offer corporate programs, and of course, the book. And we have we have assessments where we assess company culture and leadership inside of organizations. So basically, we work with individuals selectively because there's not too much time to work with everyone who wants to expand into their fuller being. And we work with organizations, teams and organizations to help them thrive.
Well, we have a question that just came in for you, Peter, and it's how can leaders balance profit with profitability? Balance purpose with profitability.
Yeah, that's a good thing, because a company needs to make profits in order to survive. It needs to be sustainable, of course. But the question is, which one do you put before the cart? Yeah, I give you an example. We were at IESE, which is a European business school in Barcelona, and the dean of the business school was sitting in one chair, and 3 younger entrepreneurs. They were all making $20 to $150 million in their business. So very successful young entrepreneurs, and they talked about purpose. And they said, it has this purpose. We sold our company. This is what we want to achieve. And this person over here, he just didn't get it. He said, but how do you make profits? And they're like, don't you get it? We have a purpose, and the profits will follow. So everybody was cringing in the audience, because it was visible that these few young people, they were convinced internally in their consciousness that once they follow their purpose, profit will be a result if we do things right. For this individual here, the dean of the organization, it just didn't compute. It was not a possibility. He was in a different room altogether, in a different room of consciousness. And so that's the work that we help people with, is to move from this room of consciousness where things are limited to a different room of consciousness where suddenly something new opens up. Good question. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Another question that just came in is, what misconceptions do people have about spirituality in business?
A misconception that it's poofy, that it's all woo-woo. And oftentimes it is. I know a lot of people that are very woo-woo and trying to bring it into business, and it just doesn't work. Spirituality is something that's way out there, but it's also very, very real in the world here. And if we can't quite build that bridge, then it just doesn't stick.
And what message would you give someone standing at the edge of a life-changing decision?
It depends on the decision. And any more info about the life-changing decision?
No.
A career change or a life-changing decision can be jumped.
Can be a lot of things, right? Having a baby, moving away.
I would just generally say, check in. If it genuinely pulls you, explore and lean into it. Because if you don't, it'll pop back. It'll come back in a year or 2 from now. That's when it pulls you. It will come back. Right. If it's just there one time around, then it might just be a fantasy.
Right? We don't know, because you guys haven't went deeper. You just said life-changing decision. So whatever your life decision is, just follow your intuition on this. You probably already know the answer. That's what I always tell my kids. You probably already know the answer. You're just probably scared of the answer.
Yeah. And if you have somebody that you trust, I mean, many coaches go down the normal route where I say, well, what would you do here and there? I would maybe talk to somebody who has a higher perspective and the feet on the ground and say, I went through this myself here, and somebody who can really kick this around with you.
And it goes back to this question: how does conscious business truly? What does conscious business truly mean to you, Peter?
To me, there's really no conscious business. There are conscious people inside an organization. And as I mentioned earlier, every single issue inside an organization comes down to a consciousness issue. And we try to maneuver all things around it, but things only change once we become conscious and accountable for our contribution to the system. So a conscious business is where individuals, the leaders, and the employees become conscious and accountable to their own contribution to the system, to the organization. What happens? What are the pitfalls? What are the backdrop water cooler conversations that I'm having that I should be having up front? Where am I operating out of fear? All those kind of things.
One question that just came in is, let me see. Why do you believe people become more powerful when they're seen at their soul levels?
I mean, there are a lot of powerful people who haven't seen any soul level out there. If you think about power in the traditional way. But think about Gandhi, for example. There's a power in this individual that just transcends everything. You know, he stands in the face of death, of true earthly power, and he just plays with it. I mean, he just wiggles it around his finger. So, and that is only possible when we transcend the three-dimensional world of you, me, and not enough, and here and there, when we transcend into a different level of spirituality, consciousness, whatever you want to take.
Peter, why do you think people are afraid to get to the soul level?
I'm just checking in here. What pops up is that it's uncertain of what's there.
The unknown, right?
Yeah, and uncertainty breeds fear. So I know what I have here and now and what works and what didn't work. It's not comfortable, but I can keep going. That's kind of a thing. And just not interested, maybe. Just not interested.
Not the right timing.
Yeah. Yeah. You're probably more familiar to answer that question.
Well, Peter, can you tell me what, and for my listeners, what people can find in the Plan B book? I'm going to pull it back up again, and where people can grab it.
Yeah, I mean, you can grab it at plan-be.us, which is down here, or planbe.live. And it's really, if you rethink anything in your life where you feel this has been challenging, this has been a struggle, this has been, I want to transform, I want more purpose, all of these questions that we hold and oftentimes don't really find an answer for, there's a system that we're following. It's just not helping us, and we reveal the system in Plan B, and we offer another system there, which people have followed, and it seems to work. It's a different success approach. It's an understanding of who your authenticity is and how you can bring it into the world.
And where can they find this book?
It's on Amazon. It's everywhere in the normal online shops, and also on this website here, plan-be.us.
And what would your final message be for the listeners today?
We're going through one of the most challenging times in history with so much transformation that we can't even fathom. I don't know if anyone has an idea of what's coming down the pipe. So what we see is that fear is going through the roof, stress is going through the roof, people are checking out left and right, includes dying and all those kind of things, getting off the carousel. And so at this point in time, it is more critical than ever to keep our center and to keep our sovereignty, and to be self-centered in terms of, I have my own center from which I can operate. So the call would be to kind of take time about learning about yourself, self-leadership, self-awareness, those kind of things. It's not wasted time. It is absolutely critical at this point in time, because AI is going to mirror every back of what we're going to put out into the world. So it's time to put something positive into the world.
Well, thank you so much, Peter. And thank you for sitting at the table and bringing this conversation to our table. I'm just going to do a quick recap of what today's tea time is, and we'll see everybody at 7 p.m. and we'll do this all over again. What an inspiring and meaningful conversation we've shared today. Peter, thank you for bringing your wisdom, authenticity, and heart-centered approach to leadership to the Tea Time table. You reminded us that leadership is not about titles or authority. It is about service, integrity, and creating environments where people can truly thrive. Today, we explored conscious leadership, purpose, emotional intelligence, business, personal growth, and the importance of building organizations that value people as much as performance. One of the strongest takeaways from today's conversation is this: success becomes far more meaningful when it lifts others along the way. Through your work of the Conscious Business Institute, you continue to show leaders that profitability and compassion are not opposite. They can work together to create healthier workplaces, stronger communities, and lasting impact. As we close today's tea time, I leave everyone with this thought: what kind of leader do you want people to remember? Not for what you accomplished, but for how you made people feel, how you inspired them to grow, and how you helped them discover their own potentials. Because leadership isn't about being the most important person in the room. It's about helping others realize they matter. Thank you, Peter, for reminding us that purpose, integrity, and human connections are the true foundations of lasting success. Until next time, keep leading with intentions, keep serving with purpose, and keep serving real life tea, one conversation at a time. And today's takeaway was: the strongest leaders don't create more followers. They create more leaders by leading with purpose, compassion, and a genuine commitment to help others succeed. And I'll see everybody at 7 p.m. and we'll do this all over again.